Hello everyone, welcome to another Sylvie Clopinion. Today I would like to talk about the current event in Mechabreak, specifically the boss part of it, the co-op part of it. There are a lot of improvements that they did there, but I would like to talk about the previous event first that they had in December, and the grievances that I had with that event that directly correlate with what I like about this event. Now, there was a boss called Tatra that you fought in the previous event, and it was an event. I could tell that they tried, that they saw that there was interest in PvE, and I could tell that they wanted to try their hand at something that PvPers would enjoy and something that PvEers would enjoy. Now, in this event, you could bring modular weapons, you could bring gliders, you can bring things like that. But if you died, if you lost your weapons, which was very unfortunate. Depending on your composition, the battle could easily take like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something akin to that. And it was a little bit of a miserable experience. The boss felt like kind of an HP sponge as a result, and it was kind of rough. You didn't really get that many tokens unless you beat it underneath a certain amount of time, and you weren't going to beat it underneath that time unless you came equipped. Maybe 2 party members also came equipped with the appropriate weapons and loadouts that you basically needed for that fight. Now, when you died, you had to be in the center of the room in a small, tiny little circle and bring down a revival beacon that could also be very easily destroyed by the boss if your timing is bad, in order to bring an ally back. Otherwise, you're out of commission for the rest of the fight until you use that revival beacon to bring them back. It seemed not very synergistic with mechabreak because you didn't get rewarded in mechabreak, and if you wanted to use modular weapons, you either had to rely on the marketplace or spend time not grinding the event to do mechabreak. Or maybe you just played Verge and you don't care about modular weapons and you're just here for the rewards. There are a lot of issues that I had with this that the new event actually addressed, and I was very pleasantly surprised. So when I loaded into the event, I had known that they had changed some stuff. They made it so if you died, you won't lose. If your team loses in this fight, you're not going to lose your glider, you're not going to lose your weapons, you're actually going to get them back. You don't even consume ammunition. It's fantastic. They changed it so if you die, you can respawn after a set period of time instead of relying on the revival beacon. When you load into this fight, now this is something that I requested because I thought it was great. There are trial weapons that you can pick up, one set for you and your teammates, along with a set of maximum ammunition you could possibly have. It is fantastic because this means that because people who only play Verge, people who haven't even touched mechabreak, this allows them to try a modular weapon. This allows them to try something they may not have even had or even considered having in this fight. And they could be like, oh, whoa, this actually does a pretty good amount of damage. Oh, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. Dancing between having the modular weapons and not. It is very synergistic, and it definitely makes people potentially more interested in trying the other game mode to obtain more of these modular weapons. It is an excellent change. It feels like they changed the HP of the enemy so it doesn't take nearly as long. But another key feature that they did was you're not required to bring a healer, which is great because the other mode, it felt like you were absolutely in need of a healer or you're basically screwed because there are a lot of attacks that the boss would do that it was extremely hard to avoid or unavoidable depending on what it was doing. Now you can have basically whatever party composition you want, and it's fantastic. You could basically play any striker you want. Instead of being like, well, these other 2 DPS want to play DPS, we need a healer, I don't even have any modular weapons. And some people might be like, well, maybe you should have gotten some. And it's like, that shouldn't be a requirement to enjoy this event that's supposed to be for fun. They changed so much about this PvE part of the event that it was really fun. It made me, someone who's extremely averse to getting any of this, go into the marketplace, even charge a little bit of Korite to try a bunch of different weapons, see how they worked against the boss. I was actually genuinely pretty interested in that. They made money off of me because I was just deathly curious. I didn't have to. The weapons that they start you out with, like these tier 3 blue weapons, were actually pretty good. But I got so curious I wanted to try different variety because I got a taste of like using that it influenced me to want to try different things. I could have played mechabreak. I didn't try. I could have just kept like re-rolling the mechabreak store. I just sped it up a little bit. I was in the middle of a stream. I didn't want to spend the whole stream like gotchaing like that. But it was fun. It was one of the most fun that I've had in mechabreak in a while. And they listened. Like, it felt like, I'm not saying that this is because of me, of course not, because this is a collaborative effort. Like, one person isn't gonna like one player isn't gonna shape anything, but every single complaint that I had about the last boss, they even amped up the amount of coins you got. It was great. But every single complaint that I had about Tatra from the previous event was addressed. I wanted modular weapons as a trial that people could try. I wanted people to be revived after a set period of time. I wanted the HP nerfed a little bit. I wanted there to be more rewards, so if your team does not hit the DPS check, you're not missing out on a lot of tokens. I wanted there to be no strict healer requirement. Those are like basically the primary things that I want to like change with the boss, and every single one of those got hit in a good way. Now the only thing that I have a complaint about the boss is I think the mechanics are a little bit too easy. I like mechanics that require dodging. There's some attacks that this boss does, and Tatra was also pretty notorious with it too, where it's basically like hit scan lasers. I don't really like those because I feel like there's no skill involved in dodging them. I think if there were more mechanics that actually allowed you to engage with the boss more, dodge them, it would be great. One of the attacks that Tristego does, the new boss, it shoots both its Gatling guns in like the final phase, and it just shoots it in two directions. It's like, and it doesn't turn, it doesn't move, it just does that. And there's like, you don't really have to do much. It is one of the easiest moves in the game to dodge. It could have spun around really fast. It could have had a much wider spread. It could have done a lot more things to make it feel and appear more dangerous. There could have been more things the boss did to visually look more destructive than it actually was, and it would have felt more epic. I do think that they are on the right track. This boss was a little bit too easy. I think there are ways to incorporate meaningful mechanics that require dodging that don't necessarily equate to heavy difficulty, and it could still be fun. Like the Gatling gun example, you could have like slowly like turned around the arena shooting its Gatling guns, and you had to like jump over it. There's two Gatling guns, so you would have to jump over both of them. Things like that, I think simple things would have made the boss like more dynamic and like fun and interesting, while still staying true to like its identity. But that aside, like the difficulty is pretty much the only issue, the only complaint that I had with this game mode so far, and I can absolutely see myself playing this game mode more and getting more stuff. I made a melee glider because I was so curious about that, but it seemed like a bad idea with the other boss that I didn't even bother trying getting one. Now I have one, I bought the bots with it, and I thought it was pretty cool. I'm very pleased with this event. I have minimal complaints about the boss side of it, the PvE side of it. I haven't really delved into skirmish that much. It is a great sign. It shows that they have listened to a lot of players. It shows that they actually are listening to feedback. The fact that I was surprised to see 5 things that I want to change get changed, and one of the biggest things is putting free modular weapons right in the very beginning so people could try it out if they didn't have any and see if they actually liked it. Things like that are insane. It's actually crazy. I think it is amazing to see them listen to this much feedback, apply it. Because the game is in a pretty rough state right now. In fact, you could basically treat Season 0 to the anniversary as basically the third open beta. And I don't mind that as long as you keep doing things like this. This fills me, someone who's crashed out about mechabreak, someone who's been an extremely harsh critic about mechabreak. It has given me a lot of hope. And that is something that I cannot readily say about this game, especially since it feels like they didn't listen to us, that they kind of kept betraying our trust, how they didn't listen to feedback and things like that. And now it feels like they're actually properly listening to players, and it is an extremely wonderful feeling. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think this is the first real step forward in visibly seeing a lot of player feedback being taken into account. And it is extremely refreshing to see. And I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing them continue this pace, continue doing more of this, because this is what I want to see. This is what I want them to keep doing. Listening to feedback, applying it, trying things like this. It is fantastic. And I feel like now I can say more than just, you know, mechabreak is a good game for the core gameplay, and like that's it. It feels like the devs are really actually caring about the feedback now, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's great. I want to talk about stuff more later, but right now I really want to talk about the PvE event. I think it's insanely fantastic, and I'm very pleased with that. It's great. Anyway, I'll be seeing you next time for the next time I do something like this. Take care and have a good time, Flowbots.